Thought this would be a good opportunity to walk through the garden and just see what we got growing this time of year. The first thing you're going to notice is my garden did get quite a bit bigger. I incorporated my orchard into the garden. I'm starting to remove this fence, and I'm not messing around this year. I'm not going to cover this cardboard with wood chips right away. This makes it too moist and the weeds pop through. We have lots of garlic. The garlic is doing great. It's over 2 feet tall, and we're just past the prime of the tulip blooms. I have tulips all over the corners of these beds. They offer a lot of nice color early in the season. The peas are coming up halfway decent, and if you look down here, there's probably hundreds of volunteer tomatoes coming up in this area of beets I sowed, as well as lots of borage, lots of volunteer borage coming up everywhere we had borage plants last year. If you notice in my bed areas here, all this green foliage, these are all volunteer radishes. I'm going to be incorporating a lot of cover cropping this year to fight off some of the weeds that pop up in here. These radishes have done a fantastic job keeping the weeds away. And they've also taken some of the slug pressure off some of the stuff I've planted. We've already had kales in the ground in various places, some cabbages, and I'm using oyster shells around my plants to keep the slugs away. Works halfway decent, but you can see there's some brave slugs that still try to make their way through. I like to incorporate a lot of perennial flowers into my garden. We have all the grape hyacinths over here. We have chives in almost every corner. They're supposed to deter pests, but I can tell you they really don't do a good job of that, but they are quite tasty. And this year I did some garlic planting straight into my native soil here. They are doing pretty good right next to this big true comfrey that I grew from seed last year. We've got some dead fish buried in here amongst these other kales and cabbages I put inside here. This area is going to probably have tomatoes or peppers mixed in at some point. And here is my ever-bearing strawberry bed. We have lots of flowers on the strawberries. We should be getting them coming in pretty soon. You can see the strawberries do not like to be contained into the bed, and they've been spreading all over the place and are even starting to get into the garlic. Some people have to fight weeds in their garden. I've got to fight strawberries. Mixed in the strawberries, we have even more chives. All of the sage never died back during the winter. It's just continuing to grow in here. I'm an idiot. Unfortunately, I killed my artichokes by uncovering them way too early, but that's okay because we started some new artichokes and they are happy right next to the old stumps here. And who knows, I'll keep an eye out. Maybe they'll send up some more growth here. One of these was, but I think these slugs took care of that. I'm taking advantage of not planting by using this area as a nursery for about 30 pawpaw seeds. Hopefully these seeds will grow and we'll leave them here for a year or two in this spot, which is quite shady most of the year. So the pawpaw seedlings should do pretty good in there. I've added more birdhouses to the garden. You can never have too many birdhouses in the garden. There are a lot of birds in my garden. I can watch it from outside the window and there's just birds everywhere. We got a lot of the yellow finches out here now, a couple other birds. I don't know what they are, but they're out here eating the garden pests, which I want them to do. So the garden actually does better when I'm not in here and the birds can do the work. They are the sheriffs of the garden. Does anyone have a cottonwood tree growing in their garden? I do. Last year that tree was about 10 inches tall. This year it is 6 feet tall. I'm just gonna leave it for now. I've got some peas planted below it. We're gonna use it to trellis some peas, probably follow up with some pole beans there, maybe even some cucumbers. My favorite area here, the asparagus patch. You can see really attempting to fix this bed this year. I spent hours and hours in here weeding. The quack grass is really hard to dig out of here. I've been knocking down spears of asparagus, but we're getting quite a bit of asparagus popping up. And you can see I put some strawberries in here. They're starting to creep their way in here. they're a good companion for the asparagus. Just harvested a bunch of these yesterday, and we have all these new spears coming up. So all these flags in here, I put them around the asparagus crowns as they're popping up so I can see where they're at. We're gonna come through here with some thick cardboard around the crowns, and then some heavy mulching and probably some cover cropping to try to combat some of the weeds we have in here. I always leave some of the evening primrose because they are a good Japanese beetle trap crop, and we could feed the chickens those. Cleared this area out, put some compost in here, sowed hundreds of moonflower seeds. This is gonna be my new moonflower nursery patch right across from this giant Bocking 14 comfrey. I planted these currant bushes last year. They were about a foot tall. Now they're doing fantastic. This is a red currant here. It's got a bunch of berries forming on it. So we have red, white, and pink currants. Tarragon was one of the first crops to come up. I grew these from seed last year. They are a perennial, so they're getting bigger and doing good. Threw some kales in here where I was growing the chamomile last year, just to grow for now to see if maybe we get some chamomile that pops up from self-seeding. And here's more of my true comfrey we grew from seed as a barrier between our walkway here and the asparagus patch. It's doing a pretty decent job keeping some of these rhizomes from spreading in here or those from spreading out. I got a bunch of Sunchoke tubers off of eBay, and we've planted them in here. You can see the Sunchokes are all coming up pretty good in here. We're gonna have to take extra precaution to make sure they don't spread into the currants, but we'll worry about that when it happens. As well as more borage coming up in here. I think there's actually some sunflowers that came off the sunflowers that were in here that are also popping up. I added these bushes in here last summer. These are honeyberries, and they weren't doing too good at first, but now they're really starting to put on a lot of growth. We got 3 varieties here. You can see June bearing strawberries just creeping in. Like I said, I have a strawberry problem. This was 75 crowns last spring, and now there's probably thousands and thousands of plants here. Here's my giant, massive rhubarb that's been here forever. She's a beast. I've got a couple elderberries I've placed in these shadier areas, so they're a little slow growing to start, but they enjoy a little bit of shade. All the raspberries, I didn't think they were doing too good, but they are sending out new raspberry shoots everywhere from the mother plants. And these are summer bearing, so we're gonna get a summer and a fall crop because of the way I prune these. I just cut them in half so we can get the growth here and the new growth. So we'll have berries on both. Got some blueberries putting on some flowers here. And then I did an experimental row of garlic grown right in the wood chips over here. And they're doing halfway decent. The pond we created is doing pretty good. Let's see if we can sneak up on some of our garden friends over here. Oh, there's a couple right there. There's gotta be like 40 frogs inside here. I've got this deep wood pile next to the pond here. That gives the frogs a place to hide when it gets cold. I had frogs out here in February on days that it heated up, and then it would get cold and they disappear and there'd be ice on here, and as soon as it melted, the frogs would be back. So they're not going that far away. Got another elderberry in a sunnier location. I have this one here. This is just a red elderberry. I just cut a branch off of one in the woods and jammed it into the ground, and it looks like it is growing pretty good. And the chocolate mint from eBay is really thriving. It was like $2 for like 8 plants that were just in a napkin. Put those in here. Now we have chocolate mint all over the place. And if you brush it, you could just smell the chocolatey mint smell. I've added another gooseberry to go along with my other 2 varieties here. Then we have a jostaberry tucked in between them. I did some root divisions on my Bocking 4 comfrey since I only had 2 of these growing. I split them and I've planted 2 more off to the sides here. I'm probably gonna come back, do some more divisions and fill this in just so I have another variety of comfrey to offer when we start selling. We've had ridiculous amounts of wine cap mushrooms pop up. But once again, these slugs have decided that I'm not allowed to eat any of these mushrooms, and as soon as they start coming up, the slugs just destroy them. But I'm okay with that because I'm still growing the ones inside that I can eat, and I just want these wine caps for the mycorrhizal effects and the fact that they help to break down these wood chips and turn them into soil quicker. Check this guy out. If you saw my apple tree from seed videos, I took one of them and put it in the garden. It was about 3 feet tall, and I chopped it down low here because I'm gonna keep this tree really small since it is inside the garden. But it's just pretty cool taking a seed from an apple and just plant a tree. The Calamar apples are filling in really nice. They gave us a decent apple crop last year despite their small size. I can see the flowers here. Looks like they're swelling up, like they got pollinated. That's good. The Arkansas Black has some flowers on it as well, and it has been cross-pollinating with the Liberty, which is an early bloomer. I took some crabapple flowers and rubbed them all over this Liberty tree, and I see swelling buds, which means that our pollination took. Let's head out into this section here and see what we got. Here is a micro dwarf Bing cherry tree. Had some flowers on it, but unfortunately I don't have another tree with flowers on it to pollinate it yet. I planted a Rainier cherry back there outside the garden. The late frost we had was not kind to the peach trees. Both these peach trees had their flowers fall off due to that frost. It's unfortunate, but we have to let nature take its course. And the apple trees, being such late bloomers, are doing perfectly fine. The Chicago hardy fig is starting to put some new buds down low here to grow, and they fruit on first year wood. So we'll get some figs this year. And my banana also got hurt by frost, but it decided to send up new shoots on the sides, and those are growing pretty good. I constructed a garden bed just for my son so he can have his own garden to plant in. He's got some kales and Swiss chard growing in here. I gave him 1 strawberry plant. It's gonna be his job to manage what he wants to grow in this year. Then I did something similar over here. I created this monstrosity out of some of the leftover timber I have. A nice hollowed out log filled with some chicken compost and some compost inside here. Same with all this in here. There's a lot of tree bark and sticks mixed in at the bottom here, but this is gonna be really good for climbing plants utilizing this fenced area right here. So probably a lot of cucumbers, different melons, and this whole space here is all going to be melons, sunflowers, mature audience plants, probably some tomatoes. We're just gonna turn this into a jungle area. Here's the plum tree from the pruning video I just did. She's taking a real nice shape right now. Hey, how'd Allie Agnes get in there? So that's gonna be it. I just wanted to walk through here and show some of the early growth. Usually don't talk about because there's not too much going on, but it's just really exciting to come out here and actually see stuff start growing after a long winter. Thanks for watching.